Sicamous was home to the Splatsin prior to the arrival of the early settlers. Sek'maws was allotted by the Indian Reserve Commission to the Splatsin as an Indian reservation in 1877, but encroachment and government error created a mountain of paperwork under which the rights and title of the Splatsin became buried. This is more or less how it happened. Births at Sicamous are remembered by their descendants.
My great-grandfather was born at the village at the mouth of the Eagle River.
The Eagle River was one opening into Xwxwistan territory, and the ancient ones were given the responsibility of defending that access point many, many times. Stories of warfare at Sicamous are passed from generation to generation in tribute to our ancestors who defended the Xwxwistan territory from invasion by the enemies from the southeast.
So there were a lot of your people who were killed then?
Yeah. Well, that's supposed to be all the reserve here, eh?
Mm-hmm.
That side there and this side here too, where the town is now.
Sicamous is the place central to all three Xwxwistan lakes, where the channel cuts through between the Great Xwxwistan Lake and Mara Lake. The lake around the Sicamous area supported many varieties of fish. Ancient methods passed down through the generations were employed to catch fish through the different seasons. A blind man from Splatsin named Andrew was renowned for his ability to dive deep and work for long periods as he constructed the lower parts of the fishing weir that was built across the deep channel to harvest salmon every year.
My dad was telling me about that big round fur, about maybe 30, 40 feet long, and they split that in half and sharp the ends, eh? They drive it in, and they put big rocks like that, both sides of that sticks, eh? Then they make a salmon trap there.
And that was right at Sicamous, wasn't it?
Yeah, just down there above the bridge somewhere on there.
The surrounding mountains were a mecca for hunting. Berry picking, huckleberries, blueberries, soapberries, every kind of food. The Creator was generous in his provision for his people.
Section 20, west half and southeast quarter, section 21.
In 1877, the Dominion government sent out commissioners to set aside as Indian reservations lands that were being used and occupied by the Splatsin people.
And to include 75-acre on the Great Xwxwistan Lake at Eagle Pass. Decision, 3rd of September, 1877.
The lands that were set aside for the Splatsin can be represented by these pieces of paper. This piece represents the Salmon River Indian Reserve Number 1. This piece represents the Enderby Indian Reserve Number 2. This piece represents a small graveyard in a farmer's field in Enderby. And this piece represents the Eagle Pass Indian Reserve at Sicamous.
We had the big berries in there, we camping ground in there, you know, and then from there on.
She said her mother told me, and her mother used to live down there, and so did Henry and Rosie.
Sometimes the younger men would go up there and then help them get their wood supply and then hunt deer for them. And whatever they could give them, they'd take it with them. So I figure that that is traditional Indian hunting grounds.
Well, they used to fish way up the river at the dam here. We used to go by canoe and that little rock way up at the pass, Millicwa.
We go through places where my grandparents used to go, and that's all I know about them. I still go to them when I go, go picking and go fishing or something.
Today the Splatsin still live upon the Salmon River Indian Reserve Number 1 and the Enderby Indian Reserve Number 2. Title to the small graveyard in the farmer's field at Enderby was lost, and title to the Eagle Pass Reserve at Sicamous was lost. Encroachment by early settlers that built their homes on the land set aside at Sicamous for the Splatsin, and the arrival of more people and more congestion in the area caused the Splatsin to shy away. The area also became a thoroughfare for the rail line, roadways, and steamboat travel.
People started to want to settle in that area because it was prime land to people that were settling. And because we weren't there at the time, decisions were made on our behalf without consulting the community. We had many villages that we traveled to at different times of the year for different purposes.
Right near the mouth of the river and where the Trans-Canada and the CP rail crosses the Narrows, that was originally our reserve. Shortly after it was given to our people, then it was preempted almost immediately by the provincial government. They gave it away to a local settler, and they transferred, or if you will, or traded for lands across on Mara Lake that are very steep and worthless to our people. And still today we're struggling with that issue and looking for the governments and people to really settle on that score of a specific claim, actually. It's something our people have been working on since 1890. And we've been on the record with both the federal and provincial government. We want resolution to this issue.
Over the years, the Splatsin made repeated representation to the government about the encroachment at Sicamous. In an attempt to cover the error, the government set aside another piece of land on Mara Lake that was to be called Sicamous IR Number 3, and the original Eagle Pass Reserve was cancelled. The land set aside at Mara Lake was described by the government agents of the day as useless rocky hillside.
Did you agree to have that Sicamous land exchanged for the land for
Up
that
in the
cliff?
hill?
Yeah.
No. I think it's not worth it up there, up in the hill.
Do you know?
It's steep like that.
The Splatsin were never consulted, nor did they ever agree to this trade.
I don't think most of the people know it.
There was never a meeting when the exchange took place.
Lack of immunity to new diseases took its toll on the population of Splatsin, and the members dwindled to 131. The Indian agent of the day suggested life would be easier if the people were all in one place, and it soon came to be that the Splatsin needed permission of the agent and the priests to leave the reserves at Salmon River and Enderby.
Up until in the mid-40s or almost late 40s, Indian agents and Indian affairs personnel, as I know it, Indian chiefs sat to the side. The Indian agents sat on the head table. They controlled the meetings. They brought their agenda, what they wanted to discuss, with no input from the chiefs themselves.
He said at that time, even though they discussed it constantly among themselves, there was nobody learned enough that could read or write to take any action and dispute that, and they were just told that's your land there, and so they just more or less accepted it because there wasn't anything they could really do about it.
Even though many years have passed, the Splatsin continue the struggle to have their title and rights to their original village site at Sicamous recognized, and for meaningful consultation to take place between all parties.
So the work we have to do is important.
Today the Splatsin still hold living memory of events that took place when their grandparents and great-great-grandparents lived at Sicamous. Birch trees stripped of their bark to make berry picking baskets stand in the Sicamous area as a reminder of a long ago skill passed from grandmother to granddaughter. Remains of ancient winter homes are scattered around the entire lake system. One site shows over 200 homes in one location. Pictographs painted by enlightened hands and petroglyphs so carefully carved into stone stand in tribute of a different and long ago ancestral time. Stories of travel by canoe on the water and encounters with the underwater people are still being told today.
And we rounded the corner where there must be an entrance to the underworld. The water was bubbling, and then we seen her, the most enchanting woman on the surface of the water.
Our research and our oral history, indelible amongst the Splatsin, bids us not to ever forget that we were moved away from our ancestral home place, not by our choice, but by coercion, by government error, because our numbers were dwindling from the ravages of illness we had no immunity to, because we were sick at heart, and because we trusted.
The federal government, the DIA, had a responsibility to make sure that that land that you had would be protected from other people coming in and taking it.
When Victoria the stone sa kulot, kuruntum sa kalamko, pakait han, yan kikipis kulmastim, when Victoria is kalamko kulot. Ma akwail ksmela in 18 kolens, 18 mestri gemeenst sa kalmo, sa akwail ksma kolens sa school. Ja, sa akwail sa school. When sits to mammals in schools.
My great-great-grandmother used to stop and pray every time she passed that spot in Sicamous where the ancient ones were buried. She used to cry and say how pitiful it was for the old ones to be scattered about when the railway system was built.
Almost 150 years has passed since the beginning of these events that would change our lives and our livelihood forever. The time has passed, but the love we have in our hearts for this special place we call Sicamous lives on. Our memory and our continued struggle to have our legal title and rights re-established is now before the generation of today. We ask you to work together with us to resolve this long ago travesty that neither you nor we created. However, it is the legacy that we both inherit. Perhaps it is within our grasp to right an old wrong. That is our story. That is our history. That is the sadness in our heart and in the heart of this land we call Sicamous.